Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave, and on this channel we talk about wealth and wealth creation. And have you seen the videos before about inequality and privilege in the United States? It usually starts out with everybody's on a line, and then it says, if your parents are still married, take 2 steps forward. If you have a PC in the house, take 2 steps forward. And eventually you kind of see there are some people really left behind and some people that have really moved to the front. And even though it's a 100-yard dash, people at the back might be really quick. People at the front are still going to finish first just because they have all those advantages. That's what this video today is going to be about. We're going to talk about starting up your own business. So I'll explain to you exactly how this is going to give you such an advantage over everyone, because I'm always surprised at how many people say, oh yeah, I've thought about starting my own business, but I just never have done it before. Well, I'm going to give you the reason that you should do it today. You should start today, right now, and I'm going to try to motivate you to go get that started today. We'll also take a quick review of Legalzoom, so stick around. Whoop! Okay, so let's jump right in. I'm going to show you a slide here, and we're going to talk about the biggest advantage, so the biggest single reason that you should start up a company today. And I'm going to keep saying that so everybody gets on board. But if you look at this slide, you know, most of us start off as W-2 income employees. I am a W-2 income employee for the company that I own, right? So but when I receive that paycheck, first I work, right? And then I have to pay taxes. They withhold taxes for me. Then I receive that paycheck and I go out and make purchases. That's what most people's lives are like, okay? But for a business income, we get to move up the ladder, the point where we get to make those purchases. And that's the key thing, right? So if you have a business, you work and you generate income, right? Then you get to go make purchases. Then you pay taxes. So just by flipping the script there, you are going to have a 20-yard advantage over everyone else around you. Then you distribute income at the end. So that is the single biggest reason why today is the day you should go start a business. Okay, so let's get motivated now. Let's take a look at an example with real money implications here. So if you're a W-2 employee and you have $1,000 of income, you work really hard to get that, but you're in a 30% tax bracket, for example, well, you pay $300 in taxes, and that means you have $700 in take home. Now you're into photography, so first thing you do, you run out and you buy yourself a new $500 camera, which leaves you $200 left, right? Well, if you had a business because you're into photography, because that's your hobby, and you had generate $1,000 of income because you go out and you take some pictures, well, now that $500 new camera gets to move up the ladder, right, and becomes an expense. So your taxable income drops. It gets cut in half from $1,000 to $500. You pay your 30% taxes, which are now half, and you're left with $350. All right? That's like a miracle because you just made $150 because you started a business today. So these things will pay you back quickly. So that's why we're doing this. You need to start a business today. Okay, so one question I get a lot is, what kind of business should I start up, Dave, with all your great ideas? Well, you don't have to be the next Jeff Bezos. It doesn't have to be mind-shattering, mind-blowing. It could be very mundane, right? Selling online, walking dogs, mowing lawns, making a YouTube channel, making cupcakes. I don't care. Just get something started, okay? You can always change. You can always pivot later on. That's how they do it, right? There's a great book called The Millionaire Next Door. You know, it's all about the painter, the landscaper, and how they make their millions, right? And it's because they start a business. They take action today, they get started, they start moving in the right direction. So don't be too concerned about what you start up and making it just perfect, all right? You can always change down the road. Main thing is that you take action, because that's what most people don't do. So take action today. Okay, so let's really hammer this home now. Let's take this home, right? So now you've taken their camera, but you're going bigger, right? You want to make it into a travel business now, right? So the old way was because you like to travel the world. I picked this for a reason, right? Who doesn't like to travel around and enjoy the sights and sounds of the world that we live in? So the old way was you were in W-2 income. You had to work hard to get that $4,000. Then you paid $1,200 in taxes at 30%. Then you have $2,800 left, and you spend all that on that trip out there, right? So wherever you're going, let's say it's Colorado, right? Beautiful Colorado, where you take pictures and you post it on YouTube or whatever it is. Well, that's way one, where you end up with nothing left. You're broke at the end of the day. Now, the new one is the travel business, right? The new way of business income. You earn $4,000. You pay $2,800. And what are you paying? What are all these write-offs? Well, it's gas to the airport. It's parking your car at the airport. It's the plane ticket out to Colorado, right? It's the rental car when you get out to Colorado. It's the 4-star resort while you're stationed out there in Colorado. Suddenly, this passion that you have to do is now a write-off. And because of that, if you follow down here, instead of you pay $2,800 for all those things, you have $1,200 left. You pay your taxes of $360. You just made $840 for doing something that you love. Whereas before you were broke, now you have $840. Go invest that, buy a stock, grow it, become wealthy. This is how it works, people. It's the magic of having a business. Start it today. So I got started very young with my first corporation. I got involved with some people and we started an S corporation. And from there, it's built upon itself. So we started out manufacturing and I get to have certain write-offs in there. But these things can be layered, right? So an S corporation here that might be manufacturing might allow for certain types of write-offs. Whereas over here, you might have a YouTube channel that maybe it loses money, right? So let's say manufacturing, I make $10,000 and in the YouTube channel, I'm not generating any income, right? Because I need more likes and subscribes and all that stuff. So over here, I lose $10,000 because I have to buy a new camera equipment. I got a light. I got all these kind of things. So I lose money. Well, guess what? I can write them off against each other. So the $10,000 I make in manufacturing is written off against the $10,000 I lose on my travel business or whatever it might be. And I break even, right? So what does that mean? Well, you got to think about that. So now I couldn't say, well, in manufacturing, I need this fancy camera. Well, okay, but I can say I need that over here for this company. So you're kind of doing the same thing, right? Now I'm saying that I can write this off and have a loss, and over here I can have a gain. And since they're similar S corporations, I'm going to get a K1 from both. They're not going to do any different. We're going to write it all off together. It's completely legal. There's no problem with it. See your tax advisor. But it works out great. Layer these corporations upon each other. So if you have one, two's better. Three's even greater. Keep it going. Start one today. Okay, so the final part of this is going to jump over to Legalzoom so we can take a look at how they can help us start up a corporation or an LLC or any other business entity that you're interested in. So we have no excuses not to get started today. So I've used them in the past. It works pretty well. No matter which state you're in, they can provide the information and help that you will need. So let's jump over there and take a look. Okay, so as I mentioned, I've used Legalzoom even this last year for a new corporation, and I've used it in the past, probably all the way up to 15 years ago. The very first time I ever started a corporation, I was a young kid and I was dealing with a lawyer and it was uncomfortable and I didn't like the experience. I felt like I just got overcharged and it didn't work out well for me. So along comes Legalzoom. They simplify this process and they focus on just a few things, right? Business formation, wills and trusts, and intellectual property. So they keep it pretty simple and pretty streamlined so that they can help you out and point you in the right direction. Now we could go into deep conversation about what type of company to form based on what you're going to do and all the different things that Legalzoom can offer. But I want to keep it kind of surface level for this video because we've already talked quite a bit. So if you scroll down here, you kind of see Start My Business, LLC, Corporation, or DBA, which is doing business as. So from here, you could simply click Start My Business and it's going to jump right into giving you some information about the different types. So an LLC is a limited liability company, and typically I've used LLCs if I buy a piece of real estate and I want to keep my liability away from my personally held assets. That's typically what you're going to use an LLC for. You're going to drop your real estate into there, but you can also use it as your starting point for a company. Now you can jump into an S corporation or a C corporation, but it's probably not necessary right out of the block. You can get your feet wet with an LLC. So one of the great things is if I click Start My LLC, and it's going to start asking you questions like, what do you want to call this? And you can kind of start stepping through this whole process. But if you scroll down here, how am I taxed as an LLC? So they've got some great frequently asked questions. And you can choose. Single member Cs, can file as sole proprietor, and multis can do partnerships. But any LLC can file as a C or an S corporation. So once you start an LLC, you can take an election to become an S corporation. So you're not pigeonholed into one thing and you're like, I've done this, I've screwed this up, right? So that's why a lot of people, you can start with an LLC, get your state paperwork, everything filed correctly, and then you can step up and change later on. And once you're an S corporation, then you have the ability to bring on a partner or sell shares and things like that too. So it's a great way to go. I'm not saying go there. Do your research. look around, ask questions, and it will work out for you. One thing that will happen after you sign up and you start making payments on these things, and it'll probably be, we saw prices up here. Let me go back. You'll see that, yeah, it's from $79 plus state filing fees. So you might have a couple $100 into this thing. Once you do that, they will start calling you quite often. They will leave you lots of messages and ask you to call them back. They might try to upsell you a little bit, but they are there to help. So I would suggest that you ask questions. That's your point. That's your time to ask good questions from people that do this for a living, right, to get this formation set correctly. So that's my full miniature review of LegalZoom. I'll probably do a more in-depth one going forward, just like we can talk more about what's an LLC, what's a corporation, when should I do one versus the other. But I just wanted to give you a taste. There's no excuses. This is a simple, user-friendly website that anybody could use to get their company up and running and started. And you'll have all the paperwork back to you probably within 30 to 45 days. You'll be ready to rock and roll. The only ongoing fee that you'll have with an LLC would be a registered agent fee that usually averages about $50 per year, depending on the state that you're in. But it's not very expensive, and there are options there for not spending that $50, but I'm not going to go into that. I am not your lawyer. So check it out. That's the only one that you should really have to worry about, unless you're going into some area that might require licensing and items like that. Okay. Bottom line, one of the best decisions I ever made for myself was to go into business for myself. I did it with business partners. They have been awesome. Hi, guys. But it has changed my life. And I think if you go out today and you start a company today, use LegalZoom or whatever one you want to use, you start today, it will change your life. So go get started. Now, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed any of this content. If you have questions, ask down below. We will see you next time, and have a great night. Later. Oh, wait. Cue the pink panda. Whoop!